Hello, students. Let's read this problem together. Two groups of friends went bowling. The points scored by each friend were recorded in the dot plots below. So we have two groups. Our first group is group A, and then we also have group B. So based on the dot plots above, which statement is true? So our question, let's underline our question, which statement is true? We want to make sure that we know we're looking for something that is true. So our first choice says the range for group A is equal to the range for group B. So remember, for the range, we're going to find the minimum and the maximum for each dot plot. So let's start with group A. We have the maximum, which is the highest bowling score. And then we also have the minimum, which is the lowest bowling score. So we're going to subtract those to find the range. So we have 140 minus 130, that's 10. So the spread or the range is 10 for group A. Now let's do the same thing for group B. We have the maximum for this group was 138, and the minimum for this group was 130. So to find the range, we are going to subtract 138 minus 130, which will give us 8. So the spread of the data, the range, is 8. So now let's look at our comparison. It says the range for group A is equal to. So did we get the same range for both dot plots? No, we did not. So we know that this is not true. So it's actually false, not true. I like to write false. Okay, and now we're going to look at our second statement. In the second statement, we are looking at the mode. So we're looking at the mode for both groups, group A and group B. Remember, the mode is the number that comes out most frequently, or the one that comes out the most. So in a dot plot like this, we are looking for the number that has the most dots, which is also the peak. So right here, this has 4 dots. So that's the highest point on this dot plot. And for group B, this 130 has the most dots. So that's the peak for that group. And so this number right here, this is the mode. And this is the mode for group B. So we have 136 as the mode for group A and 130 as the mode for group B. So I'm going to go ahead and write that here. Group A has a mode of 136 and group B has a mode of 130. So now let's look at the comparison. The mode for group A is less than. So is 136 less than 130? No, it is not. So we have a false statement. Okay, so now we're going to look at the shape. So we want to look at the shape for group A, and then we want to look at the shape for group B. And we're going to see if it is true that they are skewed to the left. So when we are looking at the shape, we can use our pen or pencil and we can follow the shape. So I'm going to follow it from the beginning. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the other group. So this one starts up here and comes this way. So if I'm looking at from the peak, we can see that this one goes this much. So we're trying to see if there is a longer tail in one way or another. And what that means when we're saying we're skewed left or we're skewed right, that means that there are some outliers that are pulling the center of the data in that direction. Even though they are outliers, because they are outliers, they pull the center, and so they're making the data look different. They're making the data look closer to the left or closer to the right. That's what we're looking at for skewness or for the shape. So for group A, it almost wants to look symmetrical, but I'm going to say that it's slightly skewed left because I do see a few more dots to the left than to the right. So I would call this slightly skewed to the left. So that would be the shape. And then on group B, you can see that from the peak is at the very beginning. And so all the other dots are to the right. So even though the most dots is right here on 130, and so if we were to find our median or the center, it would be affected by all the outliers further to the right. And so you can see that the tail is to the right, and so this one would definitely be skewed right. Okay, because here is our tail. So now let's look at our comparison, and it says that they were both skewed to the left. So that is not true because one of them might be slightly skewed to the left, but the other one was skewed to the right. So that is false. And our last statement, we're going to be looking at the median for both of these groups, for group B and for group A. Remember, the median is the number in the middle. So the last time we talked about how we can write each of these numbers and then we can find that number in the middle, or we could do it directly from our dot plot. So to take the median from the dot plot, we are going to use the dots and find the one that's in the middle. So I have one from the bottom and one from the top. I'll take two from the bottom and two from the top. One from the bottom, one from the top, one from the bottom, one from the top. Two from the bottom, two from the top. And that leaves us with this dot right here, which is in the middle. So the other way you can look at it is you notice that in this dot plot, there are 15 data points. So if there are 15 points, we could think of what would be in the middle. So we would have 7 on one side and 7 on the other, and then we would have that 1 point in the middle. So I could also think of it that way and then come into the dot plot and count 7 dots on either side and then see which one was in the middle. So I'm going to do that for this second group. So I know that there are 15 dots. So from the top, I'm going to count 7 dots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so from the beginning of the dot plot, I'm going to count 7 dots. So from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means this dot right here is in the middle, and so that is my median. Okay, so that's 132, and our median over here is 136. So let's go ahead and put it here. So we had median for group B was 132. And the median for group A was 136. So let's compare them. It says the median for group B, which is 132, is 132 less than 136? Yes, it is. So this is true. And then remember that in our question, we said based on the dot plots above, which statement is true? And so the only one that is true is D. The median of the data for group B is less than the median for the data for group A.